Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pageant Sit Down. My name is Regina Lena, your host, and I am so excited for all of you to be here today. I actually have one of my pageant sisters from all the way in 2017 joining me today. She is none other than your Miss Elite Canada, Erin Chapman. Hi, Erin.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on today.
Welcome. It's so nice to see you virtually. It's been a long time, actually, since we've seen each other. How have you been doing?
I've been doing great. Obviously stuck at home. I've been working from home, teaching dance over Zoom from home, but I have a roof over my head. My family all has their health and I have food on the table, so can't really complain.
That's amazing, and I'm so happy that you're doing well. For those that don't know you, are you able to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Erin. I'm 26 from Ottawa, Ontario. I started my first pageant in 2017 with you at Miss World Canada, not knowing anything. And from there, you can say I got the pageant bug. So I've competed at Miss World Canada for the...
Oh, I think you froze a little bit, Erin.
I'll be going...
Oh. You froze just a little bit, so if you want to start over.
Start again? Okay.
Yes.
Zoom problems we're dealing with.
No worries.
So my name is Erin. I'm from Ottawa, and I competed at my first pageant in 2017 with you in Miss World Canada, and immediately got hooked on that pageant bug. So I've competed, Miss Universe Canada, and I've competed at Miss World Canada the past 3 years. I went to Egypt to present Canada at Miss Glam World, and if the world allows it, I'm so all over the place. I'm so excited. I went to India,
worries.
Glam World, and if the world allows it, I'm going to Egypt this May for Miss Elite.
That's so exciting.
And then when I'm not doing pageants, I work for the Canadian Paralympic Committee. I'm a dance teacher, and just checking off bucket list items.
Yeah, because you've done so many things. You've been a cheerleader, you do aerial dance, you tap dance, you also host your own podcast. Do you want to tell our viewers a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So my podcast is called the You Go Girl Project. It actually started out just at the beginning of 2020, where once a month I was holding workshops for girls at a local community center, and each month it was a different sport, so they could come try a different sport for free with no boys, like barrier-free access to sport, to see what kind of physical activity is out there. Mm-hmm. Because I grew up as a dancer my entire life. I can't imagine what life would have been without sports. Even going into cheerleading, even working with the Canadian Paralympic Committee, like sports is my life. It gives you hard work and determination, teaches you never to give up, resilience, teamworking skills. It gives you better mental health, better physical wellness, like your heart is stronger. So I want girls to have access to that, because if a girl hasn't participated in sport by the age of 10 in Canada, there's only a 10% chance she'll be active later in life. So that's how in Canada.
Wow.
So that's how those workshops started, and then COVID obviously hit and we couldn't host workshops in person. So we'd done hip hop and yoga, and then Taekwondo was just on the cusp of that first lockdown.
Oh.
Yeah, so then it was kind of a thing of like, well, I don't want to stop this project because I'm so passionate about it, but how can I do it keeping everyone's safety in mind? So the You Go Girl Project turned into a podcast, and every Wednesday at 10 a.m. there's a new episode. Today was actually episode 35.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks. And every week I'm interviewing a different Canadian woman who's excelled in a different sport, so we can show that representation piece that if a girl's out there doing it, so can I. Like, do you remember when Bianca Andreescu was winning all those tennis championships, and so many girls were like, I can do tennis? It's the same kind of thing. So that's, I guess, phase 2 of the project. And phase 3 is I've written a children's book that's currently being illustrated.
Wow.
So hopefully that can go to libraries across Canada and more young girls can be involved to get up and get active.
That's honestly amazing. It's just your children's book, your podcast, everything behind it. I think that's great. I didn't know that if you don't do sports up until the age of 10, that explains a lot on my end. but I mean, that's
There's such a high dropout rate for girls. Like you think in a gym class situation, boys are almost encouraged to play those team sports. And
mhm,
I know me, I'm sporty, but I cannot play basketball to save my life. Like I have no coordination. So in that situation, seeing all the boys succeed, and I'm like, well, this isn't for me. I'm not good at sports. Why would I be physically active? But there's dance, there's aerials, there's kayaking, roller skating, rock climbing, something out there for everyone. I tell you, you just have to go out and try
mhm.
it.
That's true. There's so many different types of sports out there. And you were a cheerleader for a sports team. So were you always into sports or athleticism?
Yes and no. I guess with dance is seen as one of those artistic
Mm,
sports, and my mother was a professional dancer. So I was dancing 25 to 30 hours a week growing up. So I've always been athletic, but a lot of people don't consider dance a sport. So was I into sports? Not really. Like my family didn't watch Hockey Night in Canada. We weren't out there like doing canoe trips, but I was always in the dance studio. So it was interesting. At first I cheered for the 67s, which is an OHL hockey
mhm.
team. That was a unique experience because you're on the steps of the hockey arena, so you're this big, and I'm tall, I'm 5'10", so when I'm moving my arms with the pom-poms, I'm trying not to hit people,
Oh
trying not to
gosh.
hit the stairs. But then I started cheering for the Red Blacks, the CFL football team, and I did 3 seasons with them with 3 Grey Cups. And it's so weird because being on the sidelines, like, yes, I'm there to dance. When you're a cheerleader, you are nonstop dancing. Like, yes, we're
Hmm.
on the sidelines, and then we'd have 5 performances per game, plus community event performances and all that. And our cheer extravaganza for Grey Cup, which that was a 10-minute routine. But I did not think I was going to get into football. I was like, nah, like with 67s, I understood the game, but I wasn't like, yeah, hockey. But being on those sidelines, maybe it was having a stake in the game of getting to cheer at Grey Cup or just being at every single home game, I got really into football. So now I can say I'm a CFL football fan, and that is my sports, apart from parasport field.
That's amazing. But you also were in the Olympics too, right?
Well, I work for the Paralympic Committee, so I've
Hmm.
never been an Olympic athlete. I don't think I ever will be an Olympic athlete, but yeah, so I work in communications and digital media for the Canadian Paralympic Committee. So what that means is I run their social media, the website, I assist on the broadcast, and to go
Nice.
to the 2018 Paralympic Winter Games in South Korea and the 2019 Pan American Games in Peru. And when I'm there, I turn into kind of what you are right now. I get to report and get to talk to the athletes and interview people after they're done competing. And it's
That
incredible to watch Parasport live.
That's awesome. So that's probably where your podcast then came from, was already interviewing these athletes. So it all went hand in hand and it went full circle for you. So I'm really happy that that worked out. You just mentioned you've been to Peru, you've traveled, you've gone to India, you're going to Egypt, hopefully. How excited are you for Miss Elite?
I am so excited. I never traveled growing up. My mother grew up in the foreign, well, my grandpa was in the foreign service. So my mom grew up in England and Japan. And
Mhm.
growing up, I was always like, why don't I get to go anywhere? So now with pageants and with work, I'm finally seeing the world. And it was always my bucket list. Like Egypt was the goal. I was like, I want to do a pageant in Egypt. And there's just something about representing your country, especially internationally,
Mhm.
and especially working for the Canadian Paralympic Committee, like every day at my job is Canada Day. Every day it's about Team Canada, Team Canada. So getting to turn the tables and now it's my turn to like be Team Canada and have the
Yeah.
flag and wear that national costume. Any chance I get to do that, I'm going to jump at that chance because it's a feeling like no other.
That's amazing. And I know you sent me some fun facts about you, but when you went to Miss Glam World, you actually got a few, I don't want to say medals, but you got a few subtitles. How was that?
That was insane. Miss Glam World was the first international pageant I had ever done. I did not go expecting to win. My goal for that pageant was do as well as you can. So when you come back to Canada, you don't talk the talk, like you have the walk to kind of prove
Hmm.
yourself. I went international, I did well. Um, so, I was like, top 20 would be fine. I ended up placing fifth in the overall competition, and I won three subtitles, which came with a sash, a plaque, and a trophy. And they weighed so much, and I was determined to bring them all back to Canada that I had so many overage fees for heavy bags that I was like, I just need to bring these back to show everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was voted Miss Congeniality, which as a pageant girl is always such a warm moment to know that pageant sisters are the ones who are like, yes, we voted you as Miss Congeniality.
Hmm.
I won Miss Beautiful Skin, so I'd like to thank my
Hey.
for jeans. Yeah, we had to go to a dermatologist and no one was allowed to wear any makeup. And one by one, they called us into this room and you sat like this close to this lady in front of you and she just asked you questions while staring at your skin. And
Oh
after
my
two
gosh.
questions, she'd dismiss you. And then we were like, oh, okay. So that was nice. And then my last subtitle that I won has a really funny story. So I won Miss Gourmet Queen.
Ooh.
Okay, so here's the story.
Okay.
So many different little sub challenges. They had like a beautiful eyes, beautiful teeth competition where people would come and judge us. And so for the Gourmet Queen, ahead of it, not knowing anything, I'm like, oh, I'm out. Like we have, how am I going to beat French cuisine or like Japanese sushi? Like every country has such culinary delights. I'm like, there's no way they have maple syrup and poutine here. I don't know what I'm going to make. So I'm just going to focus on presentation. And then we get there, and imagine an entire grand ballroom that's completely empty except for circular tables with the country names on it. So each girl got her own circular table. We got our smocks and our chef hats, and we were given vegetables. And I was like,
Oh.
what's happening? And they said you have half an hour. This entire room, including all the judges and the sponsors, it was like you could hear a pin drop. It was so silent. And they said you need to create a presentation of these vegetables and you get points for theme and creativity. So I'm bending over with like my little hunch, peeling off like the skin of an onion, and I'm like, I'm gonna make ballerinas. So I took
Ooh.
carrots and I chopped them up to make point shoes, and I took like seeds from peppers to make little sparkly things everywhere. And then they call times up, and I look up, and every girl has done like a party platter. Like they've chopped fruits and vegetables, and they have like chopped peppers and carrots. And here I am, like, here's the skin of an onion. I made a ballerina. And they lined all of us up on one full long table and had all of our different dishes by country. And Canada's obviously close to the beginning. So the judges are coming through, and people have made like swans, they've curled the carrots to make roses, and they get to me, and all the judges kind of go, what? And I was like, okay, so I'm a dancer, so I made ballerinas, and I made three poses, like an arabesque, a pirouette, and like a little fairy
Wow.
arena. And then they go down the line, and I'm beside Miss Cameroon, and I'm laughing. I'm like, I missed the brief. Even our chaperone was like, Canada, what did you do? I was like, you said be creative. And Cameroon was like, you're going to win this. And I was like, there is no way on earth I'm winning this subtitle. Like, I missed the mark completely. And so I won Miss Gourmet Queen. So I'm laughing, not like outwardly laughing, but I'm chuckling to myself as I go up to go get this award. And after the pageant, I ran into a judge and she said, you were the unanimous winner. So I guess me being different really stuck out in that pageant. Even though I thought
Wow.
I missed the brief, I stayed true to my vision, and it got me the title of Miss Gourmet Queen. Who would have thought?
That's amazing. And you mentioned you're a dancer. How many types of dances do you do?
So right now I'm a dance teacher. So I teach tap, jazz, ballet primarily, but I grew up doing ballet, tap, jazz, lyrical, contemporary, modern, hip hop, point. I've even done West Coast swing dancing. You name it,
Wow.
I've most likely done it.
That's amazing. So, I mean, you did say your mom is a dancer, so that's how you got into dancing. But speaking of you and your mom, I know during the pandemic you went a little viral with something you posted online, and it had something to do with dinosaurs.
I did. Yes. let me just say that my mom and I are the exact same person, and she's up for anything. If I'm like, Mom, we're doing this, she's like, okay. I guess maybe it's that dancer thing that you're okay to be in the spotlight. So my
True.
grandparents are their health is at risk, obviously, with COVID, like most seniors. So they've been in complete isolation since March. The only time they've left their place is to come to my place for Christmas, and we quarantined for like over 2 weeks for that. So it was middle of summer, and I was like, my grandparents have not left their apartment since March. They haven't had a hug. Like, yeah, we tried to do social distancing in the backyard. So I told my mom, I was like, I'm going to buy those inflatable T-Rex and like Katy Perry left shark Super Bowl costumes, and we're going to get dressed up and we're going to go hug your parents, my grandparents. She was like, okay. So I asked a friend who was in my bubble, because we had a very small bubble in the summer, if she would come film us, because like, oh, it'll be fun to post on Facebook. So it's us getting dressed. We had no idea how to inflate the things, so it's us struggling for a while. And then we walked through my mom's apartment building in the elevator, down, walked across the street through Ottawa to go give them a hug. And my granny did not want to let go. Like, that was the tiny
Oh,
hug. Then we took pictures, we were laughing. It did go viral. A news source in the States picked it up, and it actually spurred some of my Children's Wish Foundation charity projects after that. I made it a thing where people could donate to Children's Wish slash Make-A-Wish, and I would go show up in their driveway and dance
stop.
as the shark and the T-Rex with my mom. So we actually raised some money from that viral thing just to go give my grandparents a hug.
That's amazing. Like, that's crazy. I'm just like, how did you even come up with an idea? But I think it makes sense. You know, you're fully covered. But my question is, how did you even inflate it? Did you figure it out?
Did figure it out. I guess to answer, I guess your first question, I have no like shame when it comes to being silly. So
Okay.
I'm like, I'll walk out in the middle of the street in a shark costume. Yeah, totally fine. So that answers the first question. But to inflate it, yeah, there's like a battery pack. So we ended up getting fanny packs and putting the batteries in it. And then it like clips to the sides so that air from the outside can like ventilate through it. I don't know.
Wow.
We figured it out. My mom even put on the dinosaur costume backwards, and she's like, "What's this in the front?" I'm like, "That's the
Oops.
tail. Flip it around."
That's amazing.
Good
And
at.
I'm sure your grandparents loved it, and I'm sure the people that donated for you to dance in front of their houses enjoyed it as well.
Oh yeah, we did it around Halloween, so I would even bring like little goodie bags for the kids. And one woman, her daughter was a recipient of a Make-A-Wish wish, and she was
Aw.
like, "My friend's in a running group. Can we surprise her for her birthday? And I'll bring my kids." So we did like a Halloween goodie bag for the kids. And then I made a big sign that said "Happy Birthday" to her friend after she was done the run. So yeah, it was a great COVID style fundraiser I would have never done had we not been in the middle of a pandemic.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations to all your success with that. For those who want to see the video, I will put a link to the direct video in the description after the show. I don't know why I didn't think to do it earlier, but I will. But going back to pageants, Erin, we met back in 2017, Miss Universe Canada. That was your very first pageant, and you were amazing on stage. And just to see how you've grown from Miss Universe all the way to now Miss Elite, you're killing it in the pageant world, first of all. But what got you to want to compete at Miss Universe Canada to begin with?
Yeah, I didn't get involved in the pageant world in the traditional sense. So obviously, what drew me to pageants, I've been a dancer my entire life. Once you leave high school, there's not really many performance venues apart from cheerleading, which I was doing.
Mhm.
So the fact that I got to be on stage, I got to do charity work because philanthropy's always been a huge part of my life. I got to be around other girls because I went to an all-girls school, so I was used to that. But actually finding out about the pageant, I was doing what most university students do, and I was procrastinating from. And I was just on Facebook. I know another girl on my Facebook had done Miss World Canada the year before, so I kind of knew a little bit about pageants. And I saw a targeted ad for like join a local pageant. So I was like, yeah, I love the Miss Congeniality movie. Let me sign up. Um, so I got the email saying, saying that I'd made it to the first round of phone interviews. So I told my mom, and she's like, "Oh, what pageant?" And I'm like, "I don't know, some little Ottawa thing." And I sent her the link, and she's like, "Erin, you signed up for Miss Universe Canada." And I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." So I went through all the rounds of interviews and was chosen as a national finalist like yourself. And I thought, oh, let's just bucket list it. And the first time you compete in a pageant, your entire community's like, there's such thing as pageants in
Yep.
Canada? Toddlers in Tears, Miss Congeniality, what's it like? So the entire community rallied behind me. Like, I just felt the love and so much support. And I just went, I had a good time.
You
It
did.
was fantastic. I got hooked. It was awesome.
It was an amazing experience. And then you moved to Miss World Ontario, and then Miss World Canada, and you stuck with the system for now 3 times. I know you also competed this past year during the pandemic. How was it competing in the pandemic?
Yeah, it was definitely a different experience. I'd first like to commend everyone in the Miss World Canada organization who went above and beyond to make sure we were safe.
Mm.
Like, above and beyond. Yeah, so we obviously had to quarantine and do testing before we got there. We had to wear masks on stage. Like, we didn't have masks for prelims, but you would take it off, put it down, do your walk, immediately put it back on. And for finals, we actually had the mingle mask, so the clear mask over our face, so we were still protected on stage. But we weren't doing specific activities. We had to be in our rooms. For all photos, you had to have your mask on unless you were outside and distanced. All of our meals were in our rooms. It was super well thought out. The one thing I will say that was different, which obviously it comes with the pandemic, is I feel like in a pageant, the times where you bond most with the girls is on the bus.
Yes.
Like, yes, sometimes at dinner, but you're kind of just like stuck in your little table group. But on the bus is where pageant sisterhood are formed. And I kind of miss that a little bit. Like, maybe it was a little bit more lonely, especially because we were in wave groups. So I was always in group 1 to 18, and then they would split us further. So I was always in group, I don't know, like 9 to 18. So even for our rehearsals, 1 to 8 was in this room, 9 to, or whatever it was, 9 to 18 was in this room, and we were watching a Zoom screen in between so that we were always in small groups. So I got to know the girls in my group really well, but I kind of did miss that like big sisterhood feeling.
Yep.
But other than that, fantastic experience. And even with the pandemic, they got more creative. Like, we had the head-to-head challenge this year, which was new. And any chance to speak in a pageant is my favorite because we're smart girls. Give us chances to talk about our platforms and the things we're doing in our community and the things that interest us. Yeah, I loved it. I would go back.
That's amazing. Well, hopefully you do great at Miss Elite, which I know you are going to. I don't know why I said I hope you do. But besides Miss Elite, are you looking at maybe doing Miss World Canada again or Miss Universe Canada again?
Okay, so I'm not fully announcing my pageant plans for next year.
Okay.
Let me tell you that I do plan on doing, if not one, maybe multiple national pageants.
Ooh.
However, working with the Canadian Paralympic Committee, the Tokyo Paralympic Games have been pushed a year back, so it'll be late August, early September, and work is a priority. And my work is so supportive of pageants. Like, I bring my crowns into the office and they tell all their kids that I'm a princess.
Love
So
it.
then they bring kids in and they get to like have that experience. But work comes first. So a lot of it depends on where the national pageants fall during the year, because I know so many were pushed back that if things get pushed to a time that's too close to the Paralympic Games, I'll have to sit it out for this year.
And that's completely understandable. But I'm excited to see where you go with pageantry. I'm excited to see you maybe do represent Canada, like Miss World or Miss Universe, maybe Miss Galaxy. I'm just really excited to see where your journey goes because, again, watching you from your very first pageant to where you are now is amazing. And you even said it earlier, or to me earlier, that you had the most subtitles at Miss Glam World. So I can only imagine what you're going to end up doing in the next couple of pageants.
Here's hoping.
So,
What I can do is just be myself and give it my all and hope that on that day it just falls in favor with the judges.
and I'm sure it will. Erin, I do wanted to ask you, so there is a segment on this show which is 5 tips for a beauty queen or from a beauty queen. So what would be your top 5 for any pageant hopeful looking at doing a pageant?
Sure. I would say my first is cliche, but be yourself. Um, there's nothing to lose about being yourself. You can never be anyone better than who you are, and maybe it'll take you far. I was myself. I dressed up in a shark costume, and look where it got me today. The second, I would say, is when you're in that competition moment, be present. It's so easy to think, okay, I'm in swim, now I'm thinking about evening. And evening, now I'm thinking about question and answer. No, no, no. If you're in swim, be in the moment for swim. Before you step on stage, take a deep breath, feel your body, and then go. Because you'll not only have a better time, but you'll have a better performance as well. Because pageants aren't always about performance. You're there because you love it and you're having fun. So make sure you're having fun. I would say my third would be to take care of yourself. You're still a human being. You still need sleep. You still need water. You still need proper nutrition. That is so important. And that goes just beyond pageantry. That's through life. If this year has taught us anything, it's that we need to put ourselves first sometimes and make sure that we're safe. My fourth, I had it. It escaped my brain. My fourth is be prepared. Pageants are won before they're won. Actually, got my prop to show you. I don't know if you can see the writing, but this was my preparation plan going into Miss World Canada this past summer. There's over 80 steps involved. So if you can obsess, you can have success. Yeah, and it's all what you want to get out of it. If you just want to make top 20, that's fine. If you just want to have a great experience, that's fine. If you just want to go on stage and feel confident speaking, if maybe you're not a great public speaker, that's fantastic. Not everyone goes to win that top title, so just find out what your reasons are and then prepare, prepare, prepare. And then my fifth is something my mom always told me before I went out to dance at competitions, at recitals, at performances. She would always say, sparkle and shine. And so that's what I say before I compete. But what that means is you're here because you love what you're doing. So why look scared? Why be tense? Why be second guessing yourself? Go out there, have a great time, and show those judges why you love to do what you love to do. I tell that to my kids at dance all the time with their solos. I'm like, we practice in studio so that it becomes as perfect as it can be in studio. So when it comes time to compete, your body knows what it's doing and you can just have fun, because chances are the judges will love your performance that much more if they see you're enjoying it, where instead of if you're just stressed. They can tell. So sparkle and shine and just radiate that glitter that you know you are.
Those are some amazing tips, and I'm definitely going to be taking note of all of that. Did you say that you had 80 steps in your...
Yeah, I think it ended up being like 83. I don't know if you can kind of see all of that, but yeah, that was my my prep plan.
That's amazing.
Thank you. It was all broken down to subcategories like nutrition, exercise, philanthropy, branding, spirituality, and like mindfulness, social media, runway, talent, interview, photo shoot, hair and makeup, and styling.
Wow, you got it down. That's amazing. So Erin, if they wanted to follow your pageant journey follow your pageant journey leading up to Egypt, where can they find you?
Absolutely. So I post most of my pageant things either on my Instagram, which is Erin Chapman, or on my Facebook pageant page, which is Erin Chapman-Pageants. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at the You Go Girl Project Canada or the You Go Girl Project on Facebook. And then some other accounts to follow would, of course, be Miss Elite World, Harley Productions, Miss Queen Canada. Those are other places where information about my pageant journey will be posted.
That's amazing. I'm looking forward to rooting you on for Team Canada and just rooting you on as Team Erin. I'll probably put on an inflatable suit and be like, go Erin!
Yes!
So besides pageantry, what's next for you?
Ooh, what's next? Hopefully getting out of my apartment. I've been in lockdown for 3 weeks now, just because my grandpa's birthday is coming up and we want him to be safe when I see him. So getting out of my apartment is step one. Preparing for the Paralympic Games for work and just heading into, well, so Tokyo is end of summer and then Beijing is early next year. So that's going to be busy work-wise, teaching dance, doing writing my book. So much. I'm studying for the GMAT exam, so hopefully someday I can do a master's. So yeah, just keeping busy and trying to push myself each and every day.
That's amazing. Cindy with an S actually left a comment saying, waiting for Erin's mom to compete. Would your mom do a pageant?
Okay, so Cindy with an S and I have been plotting for the longest time about getting my mom to do Galaxy.
Yes,
so
please.
My mom, like I've mentioned, my mom is the same person as I am. We're outgoing, we're silly, we're dancers, we're performers. She just turned 61. She can still kick her leg up. And I was like, Mom, you should do Galaxy before. And she qualifies for the Mrs. Galaxy category. And I was like, you guys could be team. So I think she's a little skeptical doing a pageant during COVID. But it is my mission to get my mom to do a pageant. Granny's all on board. She's like, you would love it, because my mom and I have this relationship that sometimes I push her to do things if she's skeptical, and I always say, Mom, I would never push you to do it if you didn't love it. So like once at a water park, there was a slide I'm iffy about it, and I did it. I ran up the stairs. I was like, Mom, don't do it. You would not like it. But then when we went to Mexico, the bus after the Korea Paralympic Games as our little girls trip, I kept asking her to go parasailing, and she never went parasailing. And then finally one day she got up the courage to go, and she had the best time. So I push her when it's the right move.
That's amazing. Do you see your grandma doing it with her?
I don't think so. My grandma's 82. So I feel like my granny would just be a supporter instead of getting on the stage. But she's always been like a behind the scenes grandma. She would play piano so my mom could dance, or she would sew my dance costumes. So my granny's more the supportive type, but I don't think she would ever get in front of the camera like that.
I just think it'd be cool to have the three of you, so 3 generations on a Galaxy stage.
Well, maybe I could push it like that if it was the 3 of us doing it in the same year. But even with COVID, I have a photographer friend with a long distance camera lens, because he shoots for the Red Blacks and Paralympics, so he's used to that. And I got him in like my grandparents' backyard for their complex is like almost like a hallway. It's super long. So he came and stood on one end of the long walkway, and they stood on the other, and we did a photo shoot so they could have something different. And my grandpa used to model in Japan, so he's like posing for his best life. And my granny was like, direct me, I don't know what to do.
Oh my gosh.
But it's this photo. They're so adorable.
Maybe we should get your grandpa to do a Mr. Galaxy one day.
100% he would do it. 100%. Yeah. That's his style, for sure.
That's awesome. So, Erin's mom, if you're watching Canada Galaxy, hit up Cindy with an S on Facebook. She got you covered.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's gonna happen someday. It's just a matter of when.
Definitely. Would you do Galaxy?
100%. It's in the plans. For me, the way I see it is I'm starting to age out for the Miss categories. So since Galaxy has so many more options, I'm going to do the Miss only pageants in the last few years that I have left. And then as soon as I can't do any Miss anymore, then I'm going to Galaxy. For sure. It's happening.
I'm excited for you to be a Ms. Galaxy Canada one day then, if that's the case.
That's great.
There you go. So Erin, is there your book, we were talking about your book earlier. Can you tell us a little bit about it? What can we expect?
Absolutely. So the book is a continuation of the You Go Girl project aimed at getting young girls involved in sport. So the book itself is the first in what I hope will be a series where each book is an alliterative title about a girl finding a sport. So my first is called Ronnie the Rock Climber. My grandpa's name is Ron, so that's my way of like plugging his name in a female way. And the premise of the book, I guess, is that Ronnie seeks adventure. She loves reading about it, but doesn't really have an outlet to go be adventurous herself. And then she finds rock climbing, and the whole world opens up for her. I'll have other books featuring different sports, and the young girls will get different things out of each sports. Maybe it's friendship, maybe it's learning new skills or whatnot. Um, and right now, I've actually switched illustrators, and I've hired one of my very best friends who's in school for graphic design, and she's done some graphic design work for me before, and she is so incredibly talented. I can't wait for people to see the drawings that she's made. She sent me some storyboards, and I'm obsessed. So the plan is, once that's all done, we're going to publish the book. I'm going to send a free copy to as many public libraries in Canada, across Canada, whether physical or digital copy. And then hopefully, either through Zoom or in-person sessions, do a book tour across Canada so that more young girls can read these books and be like, oh, I didn't know rock climbing was a sport, and oh, I want adventure too. Maybe I should try that and give that a go. So that's kind of the plan for the books. Hopefully one in a series of many, many more to come.
That's amazing. And again, I think what you're doing with the book is absolutely phenomenal. I think it'll definitely get girls doing sports before 10 years old. So
that's the plan. Even after, like, my interview today, Classy Claire, she's a female boxer and an opera singer, and she didn't start boxing until her late 30s, and she loves it. Obviously, with sports, different sports give you different industries and different things that you want, but it just shows that you don't have to be 6 years old to start a sport. You know, you don't have to start dance like me when you're 1.5 and carry it through life. Like, I started aerials only in university, and I love it. And I bought a kayak as one of my quarantine purchases and take it along the Rideau Canal. And I love it, but maybe as a kid, that's not something I would have explored or tried. So it's even a lesson to older women. There's always something new, and maybe dance was great for you growing up, but maybe now, like, pole fitness is something that gives you that dance background, but you can do at an older age, because I know dance isn't that great on the body once you reach a certain age. There's always something new out there. So just to any woman in Canada, explore, 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 and always give new things a try.
That's some great advice. And this is why your book is going to be super successful, and I can't wait for it to come out. Do you have like an expected deadline or release date?
It got pushed back, of course, because I halfway through went with a different illustrator. So we're a little bit behind on that, but the plan is to get it out before next pageant season. Amazing. Especially, you know, with pageants, it's one thing to say you have a plan one year, but it would be nice to action that plan by the next year you come back and the judges go, so what have you been doing all year? So it would be nice to get it out before the summer, if possible.
That's amazing. Are you going to have a book based on you and your mom's relationship and dressing up in inflatable characters?
I don't know, but again, the girl who I interviewed, Claire, for this week's podcast episode was like, you need to interview your mom. And I was like, my mom? But I guess people want to hear more about my mom. She's a pretty awesome person with a lot of dance stories to tell. So I might have to interview her on the podcast.
You definitely should, and we're all going to watch, and we're all going to comment in being like, you should do Galaxy.
Oh, yeah. It's going to happen, for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
I can't wait. So, Erin, you did mention your podcast a little bit, and so you mentioned it every Wednesday. Are you looking for girls to still interview, or?
Always. I am always looking for different stories, different sports, different walks of life. At first it started with, okay, who do I know? Because that's the easiest way to start up a project. And then one day, a few months ago, I guess, I posted, I was like, hey, does anyone know any female Canadian women in sport that they think would be interested? And so many people commented, and I'm so glad that they did, because I know the stories of the people in my group, but I've met so many incredible women that I've been so inspired by. There are some episodes where I don't even feel like I'm interviewing the woman. I feel like I'm listening to a personal TED Talk. Like, they're talking to me, and I'm sitting there being like, yeah. And I just leave feeling so motivated. So if anyone out there is a Canadian woman with a sport, I don't care if you're competitive, Olympic, you just started last week, I want to hear your story. So please reach out to me at the You Go Girl Project Canada on Instagram or at Erin Chapman on Instagram. And let's set something up. Let's talk sports. I want to hear it. I want to hear it all.
I want to hear it too, and I'll definitely post it on my Instagram and Facebook as well so that those who are following and want to find out more can find you easier. You also mentioned that you're from Ottawa.
Yes.
How has Ottawa been during this pandemic? Because it's a huge tourist area.
It is. Yeah, so Ottawa, I mean, I've been kind of out of the loop because I haven't been following the news as closely, being locked down in my apartment for 3 weeks because I'm like, man, I'm not leaving anyways. We went into full lockdown on Boxing Day, and things just started opening up yesterday, so on Tuesday. Um, yeah, Ottawa, especially right now, this would be our winterlude. The Rideau Canal is open, but instead of having all of Ottawa and all those travelers come and use the canal, they're asking people who are just local to use it for now since there are rinks all over the city.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I live a few blocks from the canal, so it's great to skate on the world's largest skating rink as a fun pastime activity. But like any city, we're taking a hit. We're trying our best. We're trying to be safe. Not everyone is perfect, but honestly, I can't complain. Things seem to be as good as they can be with the information that they have, and Canada's not the best in the world, but I don't think we're the worst, so it's a good place to be.
That's true. You know, Toronto itself has become, in the very beginning, it was just a dead zone, like a ghost town. You didn't see anyone, and it's so not normal for a big city or a tourist attraction to be empty. That's why I was so curious to know what Ottawa was like.
Ottawa, well, I live downtown Ottawa, and since Ottawa's a government town, it's always dead on the weekend downtown. You're going to the Byward Market, which is where more of the nightlife happens, or Elgin Street for all the restaurants. Yeah, downtown Ottawa is usually a ghost town on the weekend just because it's all government buildings. So too much has changed for me. Yeah, I've been working from home since March like most people, so my day-to-day hasn't changed too much. With the dance studio, depending on the Ontario guidelines, I'm either in studio or teaching over Zoom, and we have so many strict rules in studio about masks and taping squares for students to dance, and like change rooms being closed so kids can't like wait around. They have to be outside. Parents can't come in. So, I think we're all just in the same boat, uncharted waters, doing the best we can during these unprecedented times, as we've probably heard from 600th, not even a number, but 6,000th time this year. But
and we hear it at least once a day. So, but how has it been coaching? Because like you mentioned, you have all these restrictions. You're now doing it on Zoom. How has that been for you and your students?
In person, it's not too bad. I teach tap, and my studio isn't the biggest for tap. We're starting to build it up. I used to teach other styles, but this year I'm like, just tap would be great. Teaching over Zoom is tough because I live in an apartment building, and I do have a board, which is like a wood plank, but I still want to be mindful of my neighbors. Tap is all about being loud and making noise. So it's either me lightly tapping on my board or tapping in socks or just sitting down and tapping with my hands or talking it out for my students, depending on their level. Yeah, the students have been great. They've been resilient. Like these kids, think of kids who were in grade 12 last year. They lost graduating, they lost prom, they lost their first year of university. And kids need school, and they need these extracurricular activities for the social aspect. Like that's a huge part of growing up. So I'm very fortunate that all the students I teach are just awesome, wonderful kids or young adults. And they're just, they never complain. There's never an issue. They're just like, yep, it's tap class today, and I'm going to do it on my little tap board. And it's just great time that we can spend being active and talking to different people and doing what we love, which is dance.
That's amazing. And I know that you are hopefully going to Egypt in May. What have you been doing during this pandemic to prepare yourself for the pageant?
Yeah, so that's kind of a tricky question because the early part of the pageant, when I was doing all this, I'm working with like Angel, Dr. World Canada. I was working with Natalie Glebova. I was working with Amber Bernacki, like just training, training, training. I was eating so clean. I was doing at least like 3 to 4 things for Miss World Canada every single day, and I burnt out. I burnt out so hard. The pageant, especially at the beginning of COVID, gave me such a shining light. Like for my mom's 60th birthday, I had gotten her a trip. We were going to England for 3 weeks,
I
and that
remember
got
that.
canceled. And then the Paralympic Games postponed. And then so all these things, as most people, like our Elton John tickets, our Lady Gaga concert, postponed. And everyone's going through the same thing. But for me, pageants were the positive thing that every day I could be like, yes, I'm focusing. I have a focus. I have a vision, and this is it. And I almost went so hard that pageants were all I was focusing on. And when I say pageants, like, it's still a variety of things. It's still philanthropy. It's still mindfulness, eating healthy, exercise, training your walk, your Q&A. Like, it's not just one thing. It's the whole broad spectrum. That after Miss World Canada, I came back. And to be honest, I just needed the break. And so, yes, maybe I've put on a little bit more weight.
That's okay.
Yeah, I've put on more weight. Being in my prime tip-top shape, I haven't been like doing my mindfulness every day, but I think just taking the time to realize that my mental wellness needed that time has been phenomenal, because now I have all my, like, this has been the planning phase and I'm ready to get going to the actionable phase. So for Miss Elite, not too much specifically, but the fact that I did so much prep for Miss World Canada this entire year are things that I can take to any pageant, like doing breath work and the mindfulness, working on how to give a stellar Q&A, working on my pageant walk. I even had a call with Luciera to get some tips. So all of that stuff, although maybe I haven't been working on it in the past month, I've been working on it steadily throughout the year. So I have some tricks up my sleeve. Leek, my director, and I have been chatting about some different things that are still kind of under wraps, but yeah, that I'm coming out and I'm going to represent Canada to the best of my abilities and showcase what an awesome pageant nation we are.
I'm really excited for you. I'm excited for you to bring home the gold medal or the crown and just see what you do in May. And I do hope that it works out, that you are able to go in May, because as you mentioned, it was postponed a little bit, but that just gives you more time to be better on yourself, right?
I think so too. And it just gives the world a little bit more time to settle and make it feel a little bit safer. But again, Miss Elite has been fantastic. We have a group chat with all of the girls, and they give us so many updates about the whereabouts and about the COVID plans and everything that's going on in the itinerary. Yeah, an international pageant giving us an itinerary. Woo!
That's amazing.
Yeah, 3 cheers for them. So it's just been a fantastic experience, and I haven't even gone yet. So I know it's only going to be that much better by the time I get to go.
I'm excited for you. Do you know how many girls are competing?
Not at the moment, because originally Miss Elite was supposed to happen in like April of last year, I think, and then it was later, and then December, and now May. So I know that some girls have had to drop out and some girls are coming in. So I know the numbers are still a little bit in flux, but they're posting all of their delegates on their Instagram page, Miss Elite World. So if people want to know more about the other delegates, that's where I would suggest to go find out. Awesome.
And so for Miss Elite World, is there like your traditional Mare evening gown Q&A, or is there more to it? Like, are you going to be Miss Gourmet again, or Miss Skin?
I don't think I will ever be Miss Gourmet Queen again. I think Luke, a one-time thing, a fun story to tell. From what I've seen from the itinerary, it looks like a lot of fun activities, like going to the pyramids and scuba diving and camel riding, horseback riding, golfing, surfing. So is it even a pageant, or is it just an awesome place to showcase your talents and have a good time? And then the final day, there's like photo shoots, rehearsals, and then, yeah, the traditional national costume. I'm not sure about bathing suit, but the fact that we have so many activities on the water, it might be informally judged. There might be like a photo shoot that judges. I'm not sure. But yeah, it looks amazing.
That's exciting. Like everything that you just said in your itinerary, I'm like, wow, that's literally everything on someone's bucket list all in one trip.
Everything's on their website. So if people want to go check out the full itinerary and be jealous of the trip, go for it. Yeah, I think it's tough too to plan because you're like, oh my gosh, so many fun excursions. But at the end of the day, it's still a pageant. So even though we might be playing golf that day, which I'm not sure I'll be very good at, but I'll give it a try because trying any sport is good. Um, it's okay. I still need to present myself well. There's going to be a sponsor dinner. I need to be on all the time. Like, even though it's not your traditional, like in rehearsals all day, every day, I bet it's still going to be a very positively competitive pageant.
Oh, for sure. And they always say you never know who your judge is actually going to be, and they could be right next to you. So you saying that you're always going to be on is a good idea.
Yeah, for sure. Plus, I'm just such an extroverted person. I'll talk to anyone. I'm not shy in that respect, as you can tell by the inflatable costumes that I own. So I'm looking forward to that. Talking to people, meeting new people, and answering questions are my favorite, and philanthropy are my favorite part of pageantry.
It's amazing. There's so much to pageantry, and there's so much that you've accomplished in such a short period of time. I'm honestly looking so forward to what you have in store and just seeing what Erin can do as she represents Canada. I think you're like the perfect candidate for Canada in any pageant. Like, you live and breathe Canadian air, and your national costumes, you always kill it. Can you give us not sneak peek, but a sneak taste of what we're going to see for your national costume?
I cannot because
I tried.
it has not been like set in stone. Basically, what I did is I came with like 3 or 4 different designs and concepts to my director. He gave me 3 or 4 different designs and concepts. We're seeing what's already out there, what we can get created. Because originally, when I was supposed to go, I only had 3 weeks to prepare. So it was like, what is out there? What can I just like borrow and put together? So now that we have more time, we're starting to think of other ideas that maybe are a little bit more custom.
Ooh.
But the idea has not been nailed down. But what I will say is we're trying to think outside the box for the national costume.
Got it.
Because I am not basic. I'm very extra as a person. So my national costume, I think, needs to reflect that. And we want it to be grand and something that no one has ever seen before.
Are you going to have an inflatable maple leaf?
You imagine. And it like inflates as I start walking on stage. Ooh. That would be hilarious.
I'm just giving you some ideas. I mean, you've already gone viral once with an inflatable. Why not?
Out in the shark costume with like maple leaf on the stomach or something.
There you go.
Big fan. Yeah.
Or you know that, because you're from Ottawa, you know that snowman?
Which snowman? The Winterwood?
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember him from French class. But like, is it Ottawa or Quebec? But anyways.
Probably Quebec.
Maybe.
Because our mascot for Winterlude, they're like gophers.
You could be a gopher. An inflatable gopher.
I've worn many mascot costumes in my day. I've been a beaver, a cat, a panda, an eagle, but I've never been a gopher. I actually applied to be the Winterlude gopher.
Amazing.
Like for this year, but obviously it's not happening. So maybe another year, someday I'll be the mascot.
That is the safest job right now.
Honestly, truly, yeah. You have a mask. People can't get close to you anyways because usually the bellies are so big. Yeah.
Do they smell inside?
It depends how many people have worn them before you. I think the biggest problem is usually the heat. Like, I've gotten heat stroke being a mascot many times.
So I'm guessing you prefer being a cheerleader over the mascot at any game.
I don't know, because a cheerleader, especially in the summer games, it's just like, imagine it's midsummer, it's like 30 degrees and you're dancing nonstop. You're not drinking water, you're not taking breaks, and you're just like so sweaty. Your hair feels like a rat's nest, but you have to look nice.
You gotta keep smiling.
Yeah, the whole time you're like, oh, I feel gross. Oh, this is gross. But yeah, they're both fun in different ways.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a way to get into the sports industry, as a mascot or cheerleader. Why not?
Yeah, go for it. I mean, you can even be like a not official cheerleader. I just received a book the other day from Cameron Hughes, and he's the first professional sports fan. So if people don't know about him, look him up. I think he started with Sens games, and he would like rally the crowd so much that they actually hired him to be a professional fan in the stands.
Wow.
And now he gets hired by sports teams all around the world to do that, and he just wrote a book, and it just arrived in the mail like 2 days ago. So yeah, Cameron Hughes.
That's amazing. I mean, people lost their job during the pandemic. Why not start a new career if you like sports?
Yeah, go for it.
Right.
Read a book. Yeah.
Oh, Elizabeth Marnock is in the chat. She says Bonhomme the Snowman. Yes, that's who I was thinking of. I just didn't remember what his name was. That would be a good costume.
That'd be tough to travel with, I feel like. Trying to fit a giant snowman into a suitcase.
I mean, you've paid extra before. Why not?
And I should have just left those trophies at home, but I was like, I must show my mom 3 of the same identical trophies.
Exactly. Just take the plaque off and just put them on different parts.
Yeah, I ended up keeping one. I kept Miss Congeniality.
That's the most important one, of course.
Of course. Yeah, I actually dressed up with my Miss Congeniality sash as Sandra Bullock's water glass routine with like the little puffy sleeves. Yeah, for Halloween a few years ago. So I was like, if I have the sash, might as well use it.
I love that. So actually, you did mention that you started pageants because you were inspired by the movie. And then you went into Miss Universe Canada, which is one of the biggest pageants in this country. How was your experience? Like, did you think, oh, this is exactly what it's going to be like? Or were you surprised?
I guess a little bit of everything. I was just enjoying the time. I was making friends with everyone. I'm a dancer, so like the rehearsals weren't tough for me. You know, like learning the dance routine and the choreography and having our choreographer be like a harsh person when he needs to be harsh. I'm used to that. Like, so that it all felt completely natural. Going to an all-girls school, being around that many girls felt natural. Like modeling in Ottawa, I was used to wearing heels and like dancing, you're always on your toes. I did get sick towards the end, so that was probably one of my biggest takeaways was like, okay, when you go to a pageant, bring the Advil, bring, you know, take all that stuff that you need. Yeah, I was just more having fun. Nothing really was surprising. Obviously, things like the T stance, when they said bevel, I was doing a dancer's bevel. So instead of like this position, I was doing like this position. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I was having a great time on that stage. I was living my best life. I was like, ooh, my gosh, this is like Disneyland for grown women. And it's fantastic.
And you were in Group A, I remember, for the dance. So you were just doing your thing. And then of course you took part in the talent competition and you did extremely well as well. So you really succeeded in your very first pageant, and I'm not surprised that you got the pageant bug after that.
Yeah, it was fun. I did a tap routine. I got picked to be dancing on the prelim or final night, I can't remember, and I did it to Trashing the Camp from Tarzan, and I wore my tap duet costume from grade 11. It was already bedazzled. It was just a bedazzled pair of jeans and a cute bedazzled top, and I was like, I can dance, so let's do it.
And you did it, and you did amazing. And again, we're just wrapping things up now, but I'm really excited to see where you go in this pageant world. You've been killing it since 2017. You're still able to do the Miss. I'm so excited to see where you go, and I'm wishing you all the best of luck when it comes to Miss Elite, because you are going to do a job. But before we go, one more time, Erin, where can people find you on social media?
They can find me for the most part at Erin Chapman on Instagram, and the You Go Girl Project Canada on Instagram. On Facebook, a lot of my pageant stuff is Erin Chapman -pageants, and then also the You Go Girl Project. On Twitter, I'm not really active pageant-wise, so just stick to Instagram and Facebook. I'm also on TikTok. Can't remember my name now. It's probably like Claire.Chappy or something like that, but we'll link it later. And I just wanted to thank you so much for having me to talk about my favorite topic, which is pageants. And you've been such an inspiration the entire time, and you're going to kill it at Galaxy. So,
thanks. I'm so excited, and I'm really glad that we had a chance to sit down and talk. It's been years since we've seen each other. I think the last time I saw you was when we went out for lunch in Toronto. But I've been following your journey and I'm so excited for you. So again, thank you for being here. Listen to her podcast right after this because as she mentions, every Wednesday morning she launches a new episode. So make sure you check it out. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Pageant Sit Down. I'm looking forward to seeing you all on Monday. We have another amazing guest, so make sure you stay tuned. If you haven't already, as Scott Dion Brown mentioned in the chats earlier, don't forget to hit like on this video, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.